In 2012, Expedition Texas was just a local show on a tiny station in East Texas. That first season showed us we had a lot to learn about making a TV show, but during that season we visited a place that left a mark on us that we'll never forget. So much so that today, we're going back.
Texas is full of lost history, from lost cemeteries to abandoned buildings, from the infamous to the obscure. Hitch a ride and travel across the Lone Star State, looking for hints of Texas' colorful past, our lost history. This is Expedition Texas, and we're gonna find it.
In 2012, Expedition Texas set out on our first season of exploring lost history in Texas. Hotel Fredonia in Nacogdoches was an easy find. Since the late 1940s, Nacogdoches boosters had been investing in the possibility of building a community-owned hotel and conference center as a draw for regional tourism and business meetings. By 1952, the need for improved guest facilities in the area had become clear. In an effort to boost the economy while simultaneously adding prestige to the city, a group of businessmen formed the New Hotel campaign for Nacogdoches, later renamed Nacogdoches Community Hotel Corporation. The group began to sell stock to citizens in order to finance the project. They believed that big investors would contribute the vast majority of the funding, but in the end, it was the little men of Nacogdoches who made over half of the stock purchases in $100 units. The total amount set aside for the construction of the hotel was $500,000. Land was acquired along Hospital Street between Fredonia and Mound. Plans were quickly developed. After a number of older buildings were demolished to make way for the new facility, the groundbreaking was held in 1954. The hotel thrived for its first decade but began to decline in 1965. Sheraton Hotels purchased the facility in 1970 and it was sold again in 1976. Troubles continued, and the doors were closed after 4 years in 1985. In 1989, the Fredonia Corporation formed with the intent of funding a $4.2 million renovation, an estimate that was soon to expand to $7.5 million. Funds were raised by a combination of local stockholders, just as with the original construction project. The newly remodeled Fredonia opened again in May of 1989. In 2012, we toured the Fredonia with then-owner Susan Pack Rents. All right, we're here with Susan Pack Rents, and we're going to take a tour of the Hotel Fredonia.
Great.
Built in 1955 by the citizens of Nacogdoches, and that story in itself is very cool.
It is.
But what's really neat is that this hotel has been reborn so many times, and what you've done with it is just simply amazing. It's a beautiful hotel, so show us around.
Thank you. Okay, here we are in the living room lobby. The neat thing about this is we have guests come and just relax, have a cup of coffee, a glass of wine. We have people that meet from different areas. They'll eat and then sit here during the afternoon. And then in the evenings when we have live music, you know, it's just another area. You can go to our sports bar, you can sit out here and enjoy too. So it's one of my favorite places with the piano. This tree, which is a catawba tree, which if anybody who's a big fisherman, these are where you get some pretty amazing worms. The only thing is you have to have a male and a female. I'm not sure which one we have, but we don't have the other. So we don't get the worms off of it. And then they had ducks in here, which everyone talks about. In fact, they thought I took the ducks out. I did not. The fish were here, but they actually would take them out, like the Peabody. A lot of people still remember that in Nashville, and they still do it. Take them out through the lobby, across the street to the little park that we have in Fountain, let them splash around and bring them back.
Now, I love the staircase. Talk to me about the staircase.
Well, like everything in the hotel, it has a story. Miss Patton, who has been influential from the day this was built, informed me that the reason this is here is because they worried about people coming from the pool and going up to the rooms. So this is what it was used for, not to walk through the lobby. She's a very, so That's why that staircase is there, and it takes you to the rooms.
So that somebody coming from the pool dripping wet would not come through the lobby to the elevator and make a big mess and a spectacle.
And you know, back then everybody really dressed, so you didn't walk through the lobby in your swimsuit anyways.
Wow, and is this all even the frame?
Yes. Yes, and a lot of wrought iron you'll see throughout the property, which goes back to the French influence of what they wanted to bring here.
More about that fabulous staircase in just a moment, but coming up next, we continue more of our original tour of Hotel Fredonia in Nacogdoches, Texas. Then get ready to see what the Fredonia looks like now.
And this is the 6th floor, the executive level.
If you're not following Expedition Texas on Facebook, you're missing half the fun. We'll take you behind the scenes with photos and live videos from the road. See what we're up to while we're out digging up great stories to tell on TV. Then watch for opportunities to share your story ideas, or just drop us a line and let us know how you're doing. Follow Expedition Texas on Facebook at Expedition Texas. In 2012, we first visited the Fredonia Hotel in Nacogdoches, Texas. Then, much had been done to keep the once-abandoned hotel alive. At the helm was Susan Pack Rentz. The hotel remained active for a time under her leadership and offered glimpses of what it once was.
We're getting ready to walk into the Nine Flags Bar, and the double Fs, which you'll see in other places, refer back to when they redid it in the 80s. We're walking through what they call the sidewalk. Inside, all the glass going out to the pool, and then into the Nine Flags Bar, which we do the sports bar. Interesting thing about this was going back to when this hotel started, this was a barber shop.
Really?
Yeah. So again, neat little facts. But anyways, it's a local hangout, and then we have surrounding East Texas, and then of course our guests from all over. So we're walking out to the saltwater pool again. The original pool, we just relayed it or fixed it to be the saltwater, and same shape and everything. It's missing the diving board, and this is one of my favorite spots. And the trees you can see when you're looking at the construction projects, these trees were there.
Susan kept the Fredonia afloat a few more years, but eventually it closed. The hotel remained unused for a couple of years, and then a breath of life. We met up with one of the new owners in that same pool area where we left off all those years before.
The history that I know of is Mr. McKinney went in and purchased it with the community. They all put in bonds to build a hotel because they knew it was something that the community needed. He was a traveler and he kind of understood the importance of having a place for other business travelers to stay and families and all the sort, so I do know that's kind of the basic history. 1954 is whenever it was they started construction. It's kind of gone through up and down through owners in the past. I remember it, and my history is my dad moved. He was in New Braunfels. They opened some restaurants there, and then they were moving back to Nacogdoches, and they stayed in the hotel for a few months, and they're on the 6th floor. So I was running around the halls, the stairwells, everywhere around here, hiding in the bushes whenever there was some over there. So I have a lot of memories as a kid here, as well as dances, school projects. When I went to college, I came to the bar, listened to jazz on the patio. So I have a pretty extensive knowledge as far as just myself here. Of course, since we bought it and restored it, there's a ton of other, personal stories you hear from people, people proposing, anniversaries, weddings that were taking place here. So there's just so much, Nacogdoches history and kind of stories behind this building.
And now we're here again, 6 years later, to revisit the Fredonia Hotel in Nacogdoches, Texas. Hi, are you Bud?
Yes, sir. How are you doing?
Doing fine, man. Good to see you.
Fredonia. Yes, sir.
Thank you. I'm back, but everything looks so different now. I mean, everything's kind of in the same place, but wow, what a great job you guys have done with this place.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's been a lot of work, and definitely a different product now.
Yeah. Well, a few things that catch my eye. First of all, decor, obviously very different.
Yes, sir.
But I was coming in and noticed that a lot more light coming in this way now. There used to be a huge tree out there that had something to do with the history I remember from before, right?
Yes, sir. They actually built that atrium right there around the tree, the top of the tree. You know, it was there. They had everything from fish and a little koi pond to ducks, and almost like the Peabody Hotel. When we took it over, we had somebody come in and check the tree, and unfortunately the tree had died and it was almost completely hollow in the middle. And,
oh no.
We had to get a crane in here to kind of get it cut out. We actually had a local artist cut that piece out in the background as kind of an homage to the tree to pay a little respect to what originally was in there. So.
Yeah. And I understand there's pieces of the tree that are still around.
Yes, sir. We had a local man who actually carves things out of wood. He spun them and made some bowls out of them. We have a bowl right here.
Really? So this is a piece of the original tree, huh?
This is the original one. He actually
Wow.
stamped it on the bottom. I don't know if you can kind of see
Yeah.
it.
You spill all your oranges there. Oh yeah.
And he's got them all labeled.
Awesome.
So I think he made 20 or so of them. When we first opened, we sold some in the gift shop, and we were sold out in about 30 minutes.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
So
there's a lot
it
of
went
people that
fast.
they have ties and history to the tree, so
Cool.
they came in here and there was a little line out the door, and
they went away?
real quick. Yes, sir.
Now the other thing that kind of caught my attention is the staircase seemed to be more closed off when we were in here before, but now you can see the structure. Tell me what happened
sir.
here.
Well, originally it was built as a floating staircase. My dad, the owner, he actually was here. You remember whenever he was younger playing underneath there, and you know, he noticed it was closed up, and it's kind of a funny story because I think there was maybe some issues about whether or not they could open it back up or leave it closed in. He took a sledgehammer to the wall and knocked it out and said, "It looks like we're gonna have to open it back up now."
I love it.
Originally it was a barber shop with like a men's clothing store right there. Now it's definitely a place for people to sit around and hang out. Yeah, in 2014, my buddy, they were actually supposed to get married here around that winter time, and they ended up figuring out they were the first people to tell me that it was closing down.
This week, we're revisiting the Fredonia Hotel in Nacogdoches, Texas, along with current general manager Bud DeWitt.
I had never witnessed it close down in my lifetime, you know. It was always it would either go through different owners or it would, you know, just kind of slow down, and then somebody else would buy it and kind of try to do a little work to it, and it'd come back to life a little bit, and that was kind of what happened. That was the first time it had actually shut down, and the lights were turned off, and there wasn't anybody staying here. And this is the new restaurant. A little bit different feel than last time, huh?
Yeah, it does look a little bit different. I like it though. You guys have really done some new tables and chairs.
We, you know, changed the name to First City Cafe, kind of play a little respect to Nacogdoches, first city in Texas.
Cool.
But yeah, no, it definitely has that 50s feel to it. Frank Sinatra playing on the background. We got this color wall back here, which people love to take pictures in front of. Those are actually embossed in glass.
Okay, so is that paper in there?
Yeah, that's paper. They hand weave all those. There's like a little string going through it, and it's normally something that just kind of flows in the wind, but it's pressed in glass, so
That's cool.
we can have it for a long time. Yeah, so we expanded the bar. As you could tell, it used to be, there was a wall right here that kind of cut off into an office space. And we opened that office space completely up and just moved the bar from right here to over here.
Yeah.
Kind of get it a little bit bigger. You know, it was always a pretty busy spot, and it seemed pretty tight in here because it was so small. Originally, it was a barber shop with like a men's clothing store right there.
Wow.
So now it's definitely a place for people to sit around and hang out.
I love the tables in here.
Yeah, these are actually an original tree that was on the property whenever we built the new parking lot. This was a pecan tree that was out there on the back part of the property, and one of the guys that works here actually took them home. We planed them, and then he finished them, and they look so good, we just figured we'd make that the official table of the bar. So
That's so cool, and it came from right here on the property.
yeah, you know, a lot of from the people that did the construction here to the people that restored the terrazzo, everything's, you know, a lot of locals, a lot of local people that own businesses that either did work on it before or continue doing work on it again. We try to stay as local as much as we could. So
Now, looking out, I see one of my favorite features, the pool. Can we check that out?
yeah, let's go check it out, the Cabana Pool. Definitely one of the highlights of the hotel, architecturally and just visually. I really like it out here with the landscaping, the tables, chairs, pool area. It's definitely a great spot whenever the weather's nice. This place fills up. You know, having jazz and music on the patio, definitely a favorite spot for the locals.
Now, through this door over here, I remember we did our interviews with the previous owner in there. Is that still something you can access?
Yes, sir. That is the Republic Steakhouse.
Oh, so there's a steakhouse in there.
Yes, sir. Fine dining restaurant that we put in there.
Let's check that out.
Yeah, let's go. All right, yeah, welcome to the Republic Steakhouse.
Now, I've been in this room before, but it looked very different when I was in here. We actually did our interviews for that episode in here, like right over there somewhere.
Yeah, that was when it was the Nacogdoches Club. You know, it was kind of one of those special spots where people, I guess, kind of members of clubs, or if you rent it out, you could come back here and use. Before that, it was actually the Quill and Ale. People used to check in their whiskey, and that was how they played the club. For alcohol sales, they checked in their whiskey. They just had their own little locker here, and there was a bartender here that made up their drinks for them. So,
Wow.
You know, as you can tell, we've kind of gone back to the 50s era style, opened it up a little bit. We have Frank, Marilyn Monroe, Audrey Hepburn over there on the wall. Not a really big restaurant. This was kind of the last restaurant we opened, but it's definitely one of the better restaurants that I've been a part of. Definitely with the management and the servers, and the food quality is excellent. Our beef is second to none, and it's, you know, probably some of the best steaks I've ever had here. And that's saying a lot because I cook a pretty good steak myself. So,
There you go.
yeah.
This is Expedition Texas.
We're revisiting the Fredonia Hotel in Nacogdoches, Texas. In 2012, we toured the hotel with then-owner Susan Pack Rents. Susan showed us around several areas of the hotel that we've been able to see again after a dramatic remodel by the current owners, the DeWitt family. We've seen the lobby, the bar, the pool, and the restaurant. With our previous tour, we were unable to see the rooms, but now Bud DeWitt is going to show us 2 examples of the cozy rooms at the Fredonia Hotel in Nacogdoches.
So yeah, these are some of the most sought after rooms, I guess. They fill up probably the fastest whenever we're busy, the Cabana rooms.
Very nice.
Yeah.
So, these rooms, were these part of the original hotel?
These are, yeah, this was all part of the original.
So when the tower was built, this was built too?
This was built as well. So these are original rooms. And whenever we renovated, we had to take a lot of the stuff out because of water damage and the walls, you know, not being very stable. We took all that out and redid absolutely everything. As you can see, some of the plugs we have are USB compatible. We have plugs just about every area of the room. Big flat screen on the wall, put new air conditioners in. Try to make the bathrooms look as spacious as possible. And this is the 6th floor, the executive level. It was kind of like this. There's a seating area here beforehand, and you know, like we had talked about earlier, when my parents stayed here for a couple months, they were up here on this floor, so I remember this area really well. A little bit different now, but try to take in like the same style and feel here. All right, and this is the executive floor suite, one of our bigger rooms.
Oh, wow, this bedroom in there, this is much bigger.
Oh yeah, no, it used to be 2 rooms beforehand, and they were the same room, but there was 2 beds in here. So there's a bed over here and a bed over here, and we turned this into a living area, and then put this room over here. This is one of about, I think, 4 suites that we have on property. You know, put a little texture wall on the background. The bathrooms are a little bit bigger. We have a dining area here with the refrigerator and a little bar here, a little wet bar. So
You talked about the brick out here, and I want to point this out. Was this a balcony and this was a wall?
Well, a lot of people think that there was a balcony here, but there was no balcony here. If you look at some of the old pictures from the 50s, it was all kind of the same. There's the wrought iron on the outside of the window, but there was never an actual balcony. And this is all, the windows are all original, and then that brick was original. It had a paint over it, and the way we had to get that paint off was all by hand. We couldn't use any tools or power tools or anything like that. So wow. We just knew it looked so much better than the color that it was, that we figured we'd go ahead and get that off.
Looks nice.
And that's actually an artist, local artist. That was my 5th grade teacher that did that, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah.
Wendy Floyd. Huh?
Wendy Floyd, yeah. She went to high school with my dad as well. So
that's so cool.
You know, another kind of local tie into the hotel.
It's all, you keep it so
It's all, yeah, it's so community driven. It always has been. And, you know, I think that's one of the great things about the hotel.
That's cool that you guys are carrying that on.
Yes, sir.
The Fredonia Hotel is more than just a relic of Nacogdoches history. It's a beautiful, vibrant part of the community that keeps operating thanks to Bud DeWitt and his family. But before we go, it's time to stop by and visit one of the best aspects of the hotel. We were there a little earlier, the Nine Flags Bar. So what are we having here at the Nine Flags?
Well, we're going to have some of our local Fredonia Brewery Oktoberfest. We just got this in today.
Really?
Some of the only people in town that have it yet. So
cool. Well, thanks for showing us around, man.
Yes,
Cheers.
sir. Thank you. Cheers.